Alright, everybody. So we have a Plat 3 Sojourn / Soldier. It goes back and forth between the game. Says this game was a win, but it's very close. Love to know how I could have prevented that. Played Soldier and Sojourn. I know my ults could have been better, my use of high ground, and some dumb deaths could have been prevented. Yeah, that's what we have. What we're working with today. So with Sojourn, not Sojourn. You're looking at a lot of the same things you want to think about with Soldier, right? So you're on high ground. You can take off angles too, just like Soldier can, but you're a little worse at it because you don't have a heal station to, kind of like back up and heal when you need to. And so if you're on like off angles, right? If your team is playing here and you want to play here or something, you need to be a little more cautious with your positioning. But yeah, high ground's good. You're really looking at getting value out of your railgun, obviously. So you have, the damage to kill people close up without ever firing your charge shot. But with your uncharged rifle, it's going to be a little bit harder to confirm kills. So great use of your E ability. Almost confirmed that kill too, but he had Wraith to get out, obviously. This is good stuff, right? It feels a little bad to die here, right? Alright, I've got to say, I watched this a couple times now, from everybody's perspective. I think you're just out of luck on this one, right? You were right next to both of your supports. Neither of them noticed you. You weren't playing particularly out of line either. This echo just comes up and makes a play on you and your supports don't notice. And so you die here. And you are the first one dead in the fight, right? Which sucks. And it could be said that maybe you're like too aggressive on your position here, but your whole team was here, right? And I mean, both of your supports were here. So I think this was actually a fine position to play in. And that's just an unfortunate death. Instead of having like a instant projectile, or sorry, instant hit scan shot to confirm kills that can headshot. If you want to confirm kills on Soldier, you have Helix, a slow moving projectile that can headshot. You don't have a slide to get up instantly onto high ground. You have to run. I don't know. It just feels a little bit worse, but we'll see. You can hear the echo behind you, so you want to be careful. This is a good angle, right? But if the echo gets on you, you're dead. And you can hear them. And so hopefully you recognize, right? You might not know the Reaper's there, but hopefully you realize that there is an echo. Good kill. And you get out. Yeah, that's all fine. Hitting some good shots here. Nice. Good stuff on Soldier so far. And see, this is the thing that Soldier is better at than Sojourn, right? So he can kind of sit on his own on these angles because you can always just back up and heal as long as you're not under threat of getting one shot. And so while I would have loved for you to chase down this echo with your team, this is great because people who are like walking up through here, if anyone does, right? They're not going to right now, but let's say someone was walking up through here, you would just get some great free shots on them right now. You can always just run away if you're threatened. So I really like this high ground. Good shots. Again, you gotta be careful here, right? When you're... Yep, I love this. You hear the Reaper behind you, right? Oh, it was your Reaper. Ooh. Uh-oh. Great ult. Your Soldier gameplay has been really good. I mean, even your Sojourn gameplay was fine, right? You just died next to your team, and it happens. So far, so good. Your target prioritization's a little off here, so Reaper is like very immobile when he's in his ult, so it's much better to shoot down at him, especially if one of your team was in threat, which they weren't. But if they were, it's always a good habit to shoot the ulting guy. you're kind of spraying all over the place. You're hitting more during Coalescence, and you shot a couple shots of Reaper, and you're shooting the Fortified Orisa. It's not Fortified anymore, but I mean, you kind of get the idea, right? You just want to pick one target and kind of go for it here. One note from the last fight that I forgot to mention is when you're using your ult as Soldier, you don't need to be ult tracking, right? You're a Plat 3 DPS, and it's not your job to ult track. You always can, right, if you want to improve your gameplay, but you do need to keep in mind like what support ults they have that could shut you down, or you know, can their tank shut you down as well. So if they have a diva with like full health, full defense matrix, and you ult, a good diva is going to be on top of you the whole time, right? And you'll get nothing. Also, if they have transcendence or if they have beat, that'll shut you down as well. So you do need to be thinking about those things, but they didn't have any of those, and you got a very good ult, right? You ulted with the Mercy in sight, and you got the Mercy, so. Okay. First big mistake, right? You just don't need to jump down here. You're actually not under any threat right now up here. And you have a really good shooting angle if you had just stayed here. Right? I mean, look at this. This is everything you've ever wanted. So I don't think you really ever need to leave. And now you're, I mean, this Reaper could one-shot you. You know, he's probably not going to, but he could if he hits a shot, so. Right, and you die because of it, right? I think you were talking about this, you know, stupid deaths that could have been prevented. This definitely falls under that category. And as long as you realize it, that's the important thing, right? If you realize, oh, I should be here, not here, then it would be a lot better. If you're up here, you know, how are they going to get to you, right? Reaper walks 8 seconds to come up to you. Reaper tries to teleport on top of you and you slam them. I mean, there's just nothing they can do. The fight is still going on when you get back. And your target prioritization needs to be really good here, right? Because when you're down more, you need to take more risks to get kills. That way you can try and balance out the fight, right? So in a 3v, let's say your Reaper wasn't coming back and this was a 3v5, you need to get kills as quickly as possible, even if it means taking more risk. So whether that means, you know, challenging someone you wouldn't normally challenge or taking a very aggressive position that you normally wouldn't play from, you need to do what it takes to balance out this fight. Good angles. You need to capitalize on them now. Right, and that's just how it goes. You know, there's not a lot of people for them to shoot, so you get focused down. Your team loses first point, right? And you've died 3 times, I believe. The first time, I'm going to say, wasn't your fault. And the second time, it definitely was, and that maybe cost you the fight, right? If you stay alive, you can get a couple more kills, and you can clean that one up. And then the third time, you guys are just contesting down a player. Yep, good target, right? Because you know he has no Wraith, he has no way to get out. So shooting him, I mean, you can even be aggressive here. You can run around this corner, and boom, you can helix him and he's dead. He's going to try and teleport out here, but you could easily get there if you try. Great, perfect, right? You waste the healing station. You've done this a couple times. This is like I see this a lot from lower elo soldiers, where they're maybe not thinking too much about where they're using their healing station. And so this can give you a lot of sustain in a fight, right? To hold angles against people that other DPS wouldn't be able to hold. So you want to be a little more careful with your usage of this. Good. Aiming for the head, I like that. I think this fight would be a lot more fun for you on high ground. But at this point, I mean, you're like, the fight's going on for long enough that it would take you a long time to get there to where it wouldn't be worth it. But if you had gotten to the high ground before this fight started, you would just be like raining down on all of these. It would be so good if you were up here, right? You would be able to knock this echo off too. But you aren't up here, so you're gonna have to make do with this angle. Yeah, that's good. It's a lot easier to hit shots when you're close to them. Alright, let's actually watch through the end of this fight, and then I'll see what I have to say. All right, this is a long fight. Okay, we can finally talk, right? So one, let's just imagine if you had been on the high ground that entire time. I don't even need to say too much, right? Imagine if you had this angle this whole fight and you were able to just kind of do what you want to their backline. I think you would have won this fight in like literally 10 seconds. But you were playing, you know, as you could from the low ground. So let's talk about what you could have done better on the low ground, right? Where you were. This was a long fight. Where should we even start? All right, healing station. You know, what's the point? You kind of realize, right? And this is a good awareness from you. You realize this, like, it's so telegraphed. He's wraithing into the middle of your team, right? He's using his escape ability to get directly into the middle of your team. This is like gold behavior from this Reaper. Maybe even like silver. I don't know. Anyways, when they telegraph the ult like this, it's good on you to realize what he's doing. And it's also good to realize that you can't kill this guy before he can kill you, right? You need like 4 headshots in a helix to kill that guy. And that's if you hit every headshot and the helix, and he's not life stealing off of anybody. So it's good to get away, right? You get away. You know, would have been great if you had your heal right now, right? But you don't. Luckily, you have a Moira here. And this is the problem, right? You use your ult here, and there's definitely like no clear vision of what we're gonna do with it. You know, there's a Reaper here, but he's behind cover already. Like, you haven't even shot a bullet. He's behind cover, and you have no idea who else is near you, right? So I feel like you use this just because you like want to use it before you die. When you have really no idea who you're gonna be able to hit, and so this is like a worst case scenario for your visor, right? You have a fortified Orisa and a Reaper that has like this cover right here that basically makes him unable to be killed because he comes behind here and he can just teleport out and he's free. Right, and so you end up using your whole visor on a Reaper and an Orisa, and the Reaper is just in a horrible spot who, you know, he just nuked his ult and did nothing. He's probably dead there anyways if he's not able to teleport out. And it's fun that you like pick up a kill with it, but like shooting the Orisa, she is just so tanky, and I feel like your visor gets almost no value here, right? Where if you were up here, or even like if you had just waited on your visor, right? You would maybe waited out the fortify, waited out the javelin spin, or at least seen some squishies near you. Maybe waited out lamp. You could have gotten so much value from this ult, and you could have wrapped up this team fight like just with this ult. Instead, we don't really get that much. You use the heal again. You're 170 HP. You have supports near you. You just throw it out. I guess you're anticipating damage. This heal's not too bad, right? It's in the middle of the fight. Theoretically, multiple people on your team can use this, but you don't really need this. Your Ryan goes in too deep and dies. I want to say when you're fighting Tracer, one tip on Soldier is that if you Helix plus melee, it instant kills her because it does 120 plus 30 damage. So the best thing to do, especially if she's like a little bit weak, right, is Helix to the ground. So I think you try and flick, right? Your crosshair right now is on the ground, but maybe you just didn't do it fast enough. Whatever the case is, try and make it a habit to Helix to the ground, and try and melee her if she's close enough. And it's a free kill, basically. In fact, Soldier is really good into Tracer. You have the heal, which makes you really hard to kill. You're very mobile, which makes you insanely hard to one-clip, and you can instant kill her, right? One of the best characters into Tracer. And from here, you've done everything, you know, right, basically. The Orisa feeds, and you pick up the kill with the headshots. Alright, so we're kind of back to square one. I think you hear the Bastion, I'm not really sure. And you gotta really be aware of this Bastion, right? Because if he, you know, he can come in here and clean up this fight super easily. It's actually probably what's gonna happen. kills your Moira. And you, like, to your credit, you do a good job making yourself hard to kill, but there's no need to be, like, this close to him, right? Again, I'm just gonna say, there's, like, a bunch of places that are better for you to be than here, right? You know, you're protected from the rest of their team, but this shows you what kind of position this is. You're vulnerable to one flank. Like, if any flanker comes through here and does well, you die here. Whereas it's much harder to isolate you up here, because worst case scenario, someone pushes you up here and you jump down and then you're with your team. But it's a much longer flank route for them to get to you, and you have like a better shooting angle here. You can also even like wrap all the way through here and get like a visor angle. I mean, there's just so many more options. So I don't think this is a word death for you. I mean, at least you made yourself hard to hit, but it is. All right, too late, right? You jump down to contest, but it's too late. Now I guess you just die on card. Maybe get a kill, but it's not gonna matter, right? They spawn right there. You spawn way back, so. Two of your team is already dead. You don't want to fight here. I don't know why you're peeking here, right? You have nobody with you. You know, you have this Bastion, I guess, but your team's already lost. I guess, you know, if you can get a pick on their support, it would be huge, but if you stagger here, you're just contributing to the problem. So a lot of times it's better to just not peek at all. And with Sojourn, it's very tempting to peek, right? Try and build up your charge, but I mean, you are in great danger of dying here facing a whole team. And this is better, yeah. Just do this. Okay, this fight is decent for you, right? But I feel like you're on autopilot, and I'm gonna talk about a couple small things maybe that you need to be thinking about. So, and these are small things, like relatively speaking for Plat, this was a good fight. You don't pick the Bastion, which is good. You know, I don't think you need to pick the Bastion. If you have a Rhine, you know, sitting here tanking for you, you can go for it. But I like this off angle better because you get you're opened up theoretically to their backline here, which is what you want. Your Rhine hits a good shatter, and you don't need to charge shot this guy, right? Like he's dead just from 2 or 3 more shots from you, and then you can save your charge shot, you know, for Baptiste or for Kiriko or for this Bastion. And so you use 65 charge to finish off the Tracer when you didn't really need to. You still have 7 shots left in your, you know, like your normal ammo. So could have got that kill there and had 70. I believe you would have had 70 or even 80 charge. And you need 85 charge to one-shot a 200 HP hero if you hit the headshot, right? So you have pretty much a full wasted charge shot that you could have right now, which would finish off the Kiriko even at 70 or finish off the Baptiste at 85. You slide in, I guess, just to get closer. I'd love if you get on the high ground here, and especially like pressuring that Bap off high ground. But this is good. Like, this idea is good. You know, spam the tank. It's free. And then go for a kill on a squishy. So obviously you missed the shot, but missed shots happen, and the idea is what's important. You can get free charge, right? This is really good, actually. No one can see you except Orisa here. You're like pretty much completely safe, and this Orisa has no kill potential on you right now. You know, your whole team's here and no one else can see you. Free charge, free charge, free charge. Look down range and fire, right? And that's exactly what you do. You slide backwards because you're taking pressure, but again, like, just get on the high ground, right? I mean, this is so much better. This is just so much better. So yeah, play on the high ground. And nothing to say about this. Just good old cleanup. I'm not sure why you don't go for the charge shot there. I think it would probably finish her off and give you guys a 5v4. But you get the recall out, right? And so this is like, I love this high ground angle, but you have to deal with this Tracer because this Tracer's trying to pressure you off. And I think it's okay for you to stick up here and duel her. Like Sojourn is very good into pretty much every hero because you have this super high kill potential on anybody if you hit. And so you don't want to give up your power position. Like this is a great spot for you, and it is super hard for them to do anything, right? I guess like Kiriko can come up with Tracer, but if you get this Tracer off of you, you're very safe up here. It's very hard for them to do anything. So I'd love for you to stay up here and duel her. You jump down, I mean, safety's fine. But again, I think if you were up here, you can clean up this. You put so much pressure on the enemy team right here. You get so many angles on everybody, and there's really like nothing they can do about it. And it's just super, super oppressive. You get your railgun up here, and it's just good game. Yeah, maybe this was the stupid death you were referring to. It happens, right? You thought you were out of it, but yeah, that one hurts. You're mid railgun. That's a big mistake, and it is definitely one that you need to do your best not to make again, right? You are barely, your hitbox is just barely inside that line. You can even argue that it's not, but you know, some portion of your leg is sticking through, or maybe your hands. All right, and that's round one. You do have a couple deaths there that you don't need to have, and that costs your team, you know, maybe even 2 full fights where you're dead when you could have been alive and been putting in a lot of value. And so we're gonna actually do this today in a 2-part series because this video's, I'm trying to get away from these hour-long videos. You know, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll stick with it. But this one I'm gonna make 2-part. Let's just talk about the first half and what you can be improving on, right? So the by far and away the biggest thing you're going to get the most value from that you're not doing right now is being on the high ground. And you even mentioned this, right? Like my use of high ground you mentioned. So you're like self-aware that you need to do this, but in game you need to actually think about it, right? And try and position yourself. So with Soldier and Sojourn, both are characters that just love being on the high ground. There's some characters where you don't even need it, and, you know, where it's not super valuable, right? Like what are you going to do with like a Mei or a Symmetra on the high ground, or characters that it's harder to make use of, right? But these characters, it is just super important. And with Soldier, who you played for the majority of this round, I mean, let's just go and look, right, at these super long drawn out fights. Like this fight, right? If you're on the high ground during this fight, I think it is so hard for them to do anything about you. I mean, you can always just back up in the cover, and you get free shots on literally anybody you want. You can reposition, you know, here. You can go all the way to here and kind of shoot at people coming back from their spawn, right? Like if you get a good kill on their healer or their support, and their support's walking back, even if the whole fight's happening, you can just sit here and just spam whoever that healer is, you know, force out their cooldowns, force them to go behind cover, gatekeep them from the fight, and then you can just run 2 feet and shoot everybody on this lane too. So I think you know this, but you really need to think about this with these characters. Your mechanics are fine, and your ideas, especially with Sojourn, I think are pretty good. All right, you're spamming tank, and then you're looking down range, is what I like to say with her. You die a couple times just from stupid things like jumping into the middle of their team or walking into an Orisa ult, but those are mistakes that you definitely realize. And as long as you are thinking about not doing them again, it's okay. In general, I think your gameplay is good, right? I don't know if... I think you have a couple things to work on before you can move up to the next rank, right? If you want to get to Diamond, you need to be kind of taking advantage of these power positions. But your mechanics are good enough to get you there. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem if you just think about... really the only thing is like, where do I want to fight this from? Where do I want to be during this fight? Where am I safe? And then with Soldier, when you're on the high ground, you're going to thank yourself if you save that heal for when you actually need it. Because if you do get pressured off this high ground, you can just step back, throw your heal down, heal up to full HP, and then kind of just walk back, right? That's all it takes. So, yeah, that's it for the first half. We're going to do a part 2 on this one for sure. I got this code off of my Discord. Balani's one of the guys in there who requested a VOD review. If you guys want to get your VOD review, the best way to do it is to join my Discord and submit a request in the VOD review request channel. I'll get around to that as soon as I can. Yeah, I'll see you guys in part 2. Have a good one.